Frustration, tension for busy Londoners, thrusting their way through the bustle of the rush hour. It's the 70s rat race, a never-ending struggle, trudging to work, paying the bills, getting ahead. There's no time to stand and stare and wonder at the world we live in. It takes its toll. Minds are loaded with problems and pressures, decisions and difficulties. Bodies grow neglected and polluted. Spirits flag from the daily grind. But at London's Olympia, a chance to stir that turgid brain, flex those flabby muscles, even tone up the soul. It's the third festival for mind, body, and spirit. For many, awareness of health and fulfillment for body and mind is just beginning to click, and thousands of visitors are coming here to see what they've been missing. By the end of the 9-day exhibition, an amazing 100,000 people from Britain and overseas will have stepped into a scene that couldn't contrast more with the grim, grey reality just outside on the streets of the capital. Here, 150 organisations, aiming to recruit visitors, convert them, or merely sell to them, promoting a bewildering variety of causes from fringe religions to health cures, some sincere, some eccentric, some weirdly spiritual, and some transparently commercial. Dancercise is the name of the game here. A fun way to get fit. Just let it all hang out. Keep trim and boogie your blues away all at the same time. The festival's organisers say it's dedicated to enhancing living, an ambitious goal. But it is a showcase for people who feel they've found answers to some of the questions in life. Some are easy to understand, practical remedies and demonstrations, but others are more subtle, appealing to the emotions as much as to common sense. This year's theme is the world of colour, and the power of colours featured by several exhibitors, ranging from those who claim to cure disease with coloured lights to scientists explaining the soothing effects some colours can have. Theo Gimbel has written several books on the effects of colour in the environment. He also runs a research studio, and he's used colour therapy to treat the emotionally disturbed.
Today in the world, most people are much too fast moving, and they're usually very excited. So the color blue will relax enormously.
How do the other colours affect people? Could you go through them for us?
Red will stimulate and raise blood pressure, whereas blue does reduce blood pressure. And I'm in touch with medical people over this. Green will stabilize, but not relax or stimulate. Orange is a joyful color and is very, very often used for eating areas or for dancing. And yellow is a detachment color, intellectually detaching yourself from your environment. The color turquoise is the color that soothes the nervous system. And the violet restores dignity and self-respect.
Well, one of the main tools, I understand, in your work is a colour lamp. Could we look now at the lamp itself, which I think is an invention of your own?
Yes, it is. And I've done a lot of research before I put it on the market. And it is the one instrument with which you can instantaneously change your environment. Through that, you can move up in your color by tuning in yourself. I will not have it on any automatic switch, but just have it as a possibility to change it for listening to music, for counseling, or for massage.
And what sort of colours would help people in that sort of situation?
Again, I would say if a man comes home very tired and is in need of relaxation, he should sit himself for 5 minutes into a blue light, and he will immediately reduce his blood pressure. Or a woman, for that matter. It doesn't matter whether it's a man or a woman.
In other situations?
And other situations, when you need some real help to get moving again, well, give yourself a little bit of red or gold and a violet color or a very beautiful magenta color for meditation.
Has this really been proved to work?
It does work immediately because our body is light sensitive all over our skin. We only see and judge through our eyes, but we see or perceive with our whole body. Therefore, if you are exposing yourself to electric light or to sunlight, you are doing something to your whole system, and that changes the molecular structure of your cells right into the center of your body.
Ultraviolet's one form of light recognized for its benefits to health. The makers of this special bed claim 1 hour on it gives the equivalent of a whole day in the Caribbean sunshine. But since equipment like this can cost around $7,000, some people might opt instead for the West Indian vacation. Herbal remedies seem to be growing in popularity all the time. Creams and washes, ointments and oils. And the same's true of health foods, tonics and pick-me-ups. Some boast recipes as old as the Bible, others as new as the space age. But purity has become a big selling point. It would take an analyst to prove the properties of some of the concoctions on sale. Perhaps their value lies solely in the eye of the beholder, but there seem plenty ready to pay for a chance to try them out. Skeptics might easily scorn some stalls as medicine shows, their owners as snake oil salesmen. That, of course, is entirely a matter of opinion. But many unorthodox forms of medicine do demand a high degree of credulity from their followers, few more so than the spirit healers themselves. A spiritual brotherhood, the Etheria Society, holds mass healing sessions, some 50 healers led by their European organizer, Ray Nielsen.
Healing is divided into various beliefs. There are faith healers who believe that you can bring forth healing results through having faith in the healing, and there is prayer healing. But the healers you see here today are spiritual healers or natural healers, and the technique that we're using is based on a very scientific basis, namely the science of yoga. So in actual fact it's different from faith healing.
What exactly are they doing?
Well, what they're doing is that through the technique which has been given to us by Dr. George King, the founder of the Etheria Society, the healer is allowing himself or herself to be used as a channel for the divine healing power which virtually exists everywhere, and then allowing this power to flow through him or her into the patient, thus bringing about a balance. So in other words, it's based on a scientific philosophy that energy is available, number one, and number two, it can be invoked, and number three, it can be channeled into somebody who hasn't, if you like, enough of the energy, which is causing an imbalance, and therefore they have a dis-ease, as we understand it.
But the patient himself or herself has to believe in you.
Well, not in this technique. This is the beauty about this technique. We've had many cases of people coming along and saying, look, I've come along as a last resort. I don't think you're going to do any good for me, but my wife said I should come, or some friend. And lo and behold, they have an immediate relief. But the faith, if you like, isn't there in the patient. The faith is there in the healer, in what he or she is doing. So that is where we differ from other forms of healing.
I suppose in the final analysis, the acid test is how many people do you cure?
That's right. Well, I can give you percentage figures on that because it's very, very important to keep records. We keep records throughout the whole of our sanctuaries throughout the world. And 75% of all people we treat have relief instantly. And in some cases, not all cases, but in some cases, you can bring about a lasting cure of something that's been affecting a person for a number of years.
Is this a medical fact?
Yes, it can be proven medically. We have had some of our patients go along to their hospitals or to their general practitioner after receiving healing, and the growth or the complaint that they've had has either diminished or in some cases completely vanished.
Is your kind of healing being accepted worldwide more these days?
Oh, absolutely, without question. We have had cases where our healers have gone into hospitals, have gone into nursing homes. We had a case just recently of a baby born prematurely, was in an incubator, and our healers were actually allowed in to give healing through the incubator to the baby because its progress was diminishing. And I'm happy to say that the progress of the baby increased immediately after the healing, and it's now fit and well.
From the tranquility of the healing sessions to the power and intensity of Shintaido, a method of self-study through body movement. The name Shintaido in Japanese means new body. It's also a relatively new method, less than 10 years old, and still practiced by few Westerners. The aim of Shintaido, say its exponents, is to create a new sense of openness and softness in the body, enabling participants to extend themselves past their limitations, beyond their farthest horizons. Energetic for the participants, almost hypnotic to watch. For some, the search for spiritual guidance reaches far beyond the planet Earth. There are myriad organizations for believers in flying saucers, even for those who fly their own. Since Uri Geller bent forks with his brainwaves, Britons have taken a keen interest in the paranormal, and at the festival there was much talk about forces.
This is called a radionic pendulum. It's been made to that particular size and shape by somebody who understands energies. He is a yogi master. He understands the movement of subtle energies. He's made it to that particular size and shape because of the energies which come from your subconscious mind, moving through your muscles and onto the pendulum as a focus. This is only acting as a focus. How you use it is simple. hold it about 6 inches away and ask it a question which is obvious, and you want to know which way it will move for you for a yes answer, clockwise or anti-clockwise. So ask it, for example, is your name John? Give it a gentle forward and backward movement and let it settle down to either a clockwise rotation or anti-clockwise rotation. If your name is John and it moves in a clockwise rotation, that means a yes for you. So if you ask another question and it moves in the same direction, that means a yes. If it moves in the opposite direction, that means a no.
From invisible forces to those you can see. It's 40 years since a Russian electrician named Semyon Kurlian discovered a way to photograph the so-called psychic aura around a human hand. From his strange fingertip photographs, Europe's leading expert in Kurlian photography, Brian Snellgrove, believes he can diagnose ills and interpret personalities.
Each fingertip has a different radiation. We can tell things like sensitivity and healing ability from the blobs here, meditative ability by how black and how continuous these inner coronas are, and all sorts of things like that. And each fingertip tells a different story. This one tells about the leadership and organizing ability of the person, and this is lacking, this is cut off, this is suppressed. And so we do our counseling based on these photographs with great success in Britain and in Europe.
Not only people's personalities can be probed, maybe plants have personalities too. And perhaps they can tell us about themselves. That's what some people think, Jeremy Lord among them. He's selling a device that allows us to actually eavesdrop on a lettuce.
Jeremy, what exactly does your translator do?
Well, what the translator does is, through the electrode clip on the plant there, monitors what's called a bioelectric potential. Now that changes due to the response of the plant, and with the translator it is converted into a changing pitch, so that it gives us an idea of the sensitivity of the plant by listening to the different sounds produced.
Are the plants actually talking then?
Well, in a manner of speaking, yes. In more literal terms, it's a translation of the electrical activity in the plant. But the electrical activity in the plant is something that is, relatively new to a lot of people in conceptual terms. But what it actually means is it's a very accurate indication of the plant's awareness, its sensitivity to the environment, to the condition, to the weather as well.
Well, what sort of things really make the plants react?
They react to any change in the energy around them. Now, on indoor plants, in a typical sort of room, as soon as you enter the room and move near the plants, the energy around your body causes an immediate response that's much higher than the quiescent biological functions that are obviously affected by the heat and the light. That's quite a strange response, really, and some people have different degrees of agitation or excitement caused to plants.
Well, if they're so sensitive, what happens when a plant is picked? Does it really feel pain?
There's no pain center. The sort of consciousness that people refer to about that is existent throughout the plant as a total system. So, if you touch the plant, you get a response whether you touch this side or that side. The consciousness in the plant is spread out through the whole plant. So it's not an actual pain response, but it's nevertheless a sensitivity to a sudden change.
Well, it's an interesting experiment, but what's the next step?
Well, the research that I hope to be able to finance is in agricultural work. In other words, to monitor crops in fields and then throughout the year draw up a table or graph of their healthy electrical cycles. And in the future that could be used to discern disease or lack of nutrient in the soil before it was sort of physically observable.
Not just a gimmick then?
Not by any means, no.
Excuse me. I've been hearing about Stephen Halpern's music, and I'm very interested in this particular album. Can you tell me something about it?
Yes, this one is one of the
What Theo Gimbel is to colour, Californian Dr. Stephen Halpern is to music. A world authority on music's influences, he composed the widely used Spectrum suite of what he calls his anti-frantic music.
and they're more for listening directly or just in the background.
Stephen, you're a musician and a composer, but why this particular kind of music?
I'm happy you asked that. In the world that we're living in now, with so many sound stimuli that tend to really make our nervous systems more nervous, I found that an anti-frantic alternative was something that I really needed, and being a musician was something that I wanted music to provide for me. It was something that I found that most music that we have in our lives did not work in that regard. Music is designed to titillate the intellect or get you dancing or doing a disco or doing something else, not to truly relax the body. We find that some of the most ancient uses of music related, however, to the healing arts, to the music that David played for King Saul in the Bible, and so on, an aspect of music that has been lost in contemporary times. So I set about searching for the kind of music that would work to relax people, to bring them into literally a tuned state. And what I found is that there was very, very little music that would work for that. Most composers don't compose to tune what I call the human instrument. And then through my own research and intuitive guidance and meditation and dream, I got led to developing a new kind of composition, similar to that which we've just been hearing now, that allows this human instrument to come into its own, to manifest its own human harmonics, and to literally balance the energy systems of the body, to literally bring in more peace and harmony into the body and the mind and the spirit. My music incorporates a different element of space and time in the music. It doesn't give you a steady rhythm, and that's precisely what allows for some of the deep relaxation, because the breathing rate is not manipulated by the rhythm of the music. If I was playing this, we'd find that your heartbeat would literally be bio-entrained, rhythm entrained to lock into the rhythm of that music, which is what happens with disco music, with a lot of rock music, and with classical music. And most of those rhythms are faster. They are not in harmony with the built-in vibrations of the body. And this is something that people, before we had this scientific instrumentation and biofeedback available, did not really understand. But now we know that a certain kind of music, if it's at, for instance, 60 beats per minute, will allow the heart to get into a more relaxed state of being. But the ones that work, what we found even strongest, are the ones that allow the heart, allow the body to choose its own music and to choose its own vibrations and its own, actually, body resonance.
Let's hear some more of that now.
Lovely. I'll play something from my first selection, which was called Spectrum Suite, which is now being used in hospitals and clinics throughout the world.
Meditate and find yourself, a theme of the 60s flower children. In those days, the beatniks and gurus were oddities. Yet today, ordinary folk are searching for alternatives, seeking answers. And whether the quest is for inner peace, life after death, or a healthier world for all, there were those who thought they caught a glimpse at the festival.